Hi there, this is Veronica. Today I'll be making a lady's bag with patterned leather. First, print out the pattern and make them into templates. 2 pieces for the main bag for the front and the back. And at the front there will be a front pocket, and at the back we'll attach the lid on. I made some modification throughout the process, so the templates here be a bit different from the patterns you download. The leather I'm using is patterned leather, which is the leather with high glossy finish on top. So simply cut out all the leather pieces needed. And we'll be starting with the front. So first I bevel all the edges of the pocket. We'll also finish the edge of the top part of the front piece. And to make the tongue for the lock to sit in, so I cut out a piece of the leather we use for the bag and also a piece of pigskin as liner, and glue them together first and use the template to trace and cut out the outline of the tongue. I also use the template to position the lock. It depends on what type of lock you're using. Make sure the lock sits in the middle. And here I saw the lock attachment piece up and leave the top edge unsewn, because this is the part we'll be sewing directly to the lid, and finish the edge of the attachment piece. And use the template to trace the outline of the pocket onto the front panel. And position the lock attachment to the front pocket and draw the guideline for where the other half of the lock should sit on the pocket. And install the lock on. And finally install the other half of the lock to the attachment piece. Then we'll make a liner for the front pocket. And here I use pigskin for the liner. So I just simply glue the leather to the liner. and trim off the excess. And finish all the edges before attaching. And sew the top part of the pocket, and the rest will be sewn directly to the front. Glue and attach it to the front panel. Now the front part of the bag is ready. Moving on, we're going to make all the D-ring attachments. Fold the leather in half with the D-ring sit in the middle. And we'll be finishing all the edges before attaching them to the back. Then we'll be making the handle. To make the handle, we have a longer strap with a rectangle piece of leather. Finish the shorter side edge of the rectangle leather piece and both ends of the longer strip. And here I marked down the middle line of the leather and use that as the guideline to draw the stitching line on either side of the middle line and pre-punch all the holes. Then on the back side of the leather piece, we'll be marking down the guideline for the longer strip. Then glue the two pieces of leather together. Then we'll punch the middle two rows of holes onto the longer strap. We'll be sewing them together by folding the rectangular strip inward to sew them all together. And next we'll attach the handle to the D-ring attachment. So just simply run the overhanging longer strip through the D-ring, fold it up to the handle. Then we will attach it with rivets. So here, after we install the rivets, the handle is ready to be attached to the lid. So according to the template, we're going to draw the guideline for the D-ring attachments. Then we will glue and sew those onto the lid. At the back of the lid where the D-ring attachments are at, which will give it extra support when using the handle, so the lid wouldn't deform when using the handle. And here I'm also going to use pigskin for the liner of the lid. And here I use the template to mark the position for the lock attachment. And we'll only be gluing the front part of the lid first. Trim off the excess and sew the front part of the lid together with a lock attachment. For the rest of the liner, we will glue them onto the leather with the lid, bend it into the angle we want it when it sits on the back, for the liner to fit on the lid better. And next, use the template to mark the position for the lid on the back panel. Glue and stitch the back part of the lid onto the back panel. And here we have the back panel ready. Moving on, we're going to make the gusset. Mark the position for the D-ring attachment and simply glue and stitch it on. Here I use sandpaper to scorching the edge of the leather, which will make it easier to be glued. And next I use X-Acto knife to make some cuts, and this is to make it easier to make a curved line. So here I changed up the design and will be attaching the gusset to the back with piping method. So to make the piping, we'll first need 2 long strips of any types of leather. Here I'm using cowhide lining, which is fairly thin chrome tan leather, and the width is about 1 inch. Then glue the plastic piping in the middle, then fold the leather in half, and here's I use a bone fold to press around the piping. And we'll also need to make some cuts on the leather for it to curve along the back. So first we'll glue the piping onto the front panel. And at the end of the piping, where it meets the top, I'm going to cut a piece of the plastic tube off, then close the end. Then we will do the same thing with the back panel. Now we have both piping attaching to the front and back panel. We will then attach the gusset on, and here I glue the gusset onto the piping and realize the gusset is shorter for this method because I changed the method of doing the edge. So here I cut out the middle section of the gusset and add another piece at the bottom. After the glue is dry, I sew it all up. Then we will smooth down the edge we sewn up. Then I use fabric tape on top of the sewing part. This is just to make the edge smoother. And the next part is going to be a bit of a struggle where you need to flip the bag inside out. And then we'll be making the fabric liner for the bag. I simply use the template to draw the guideline. cut out the fabric and folding the top part of the fabric, and we will sew that up first. Then we will fold the fabric in half, then sew the outline of it. And place the liner inside the bag and glue it up to the rim of the bag. And finally, we are going to make some shoulder straps for the bag. Then the bag is all completed. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Please don't forget to subscribe, and I'll be seeing you in the next one.